What's up everybody, Jared here with carbuzz.com, and today I'm going to tell you everything that you need to know about the 2022 Polestar 2. And at this point in the video, you're probably already wondering, what the heck is a Polestar 2? Well, we're gonna get into that. We're gonna go over the nitty-gritty of this car, what you need to know about it. And if you enjoy, please leave us a like. That would mean a lot. Subscribe to our channel and ring the notification bell to be alerted of our latest videos. This is an all-new battery electric vehicle, so I've also done a video on what it's like to live with. I think you'll really enjoy that if you like this look at the Polestar 2. This video is going to focus more on the car. That video focuses more on what it's like to live with an EV in general. So let's get started on the Polestar, starting with the brand, because I've had a lot of people ask me what the heck this logo is. I pulled up to a Tesla station, I pulled up to an Electrify America station, and people were like, what the heck is that? I've never seen that before. A couple of people did know what it is though. So you might remember that Volvo had a performance brand called Polestar. This is a spin-off of that. They made things like the S60, V60 Polestar, just basically performance versions of Volvos. The reason why Volvo spun this off into its own brand is because now they get more federal tax credits. You see, after you sell 250,000 cars in the United States, that tax credit runs out and your customers no longer get it. So now they have all the tax credits for Volvo and all the tax credits for Polestar. So they have 500,000 credits to go through. Tesla has already burned through them. So Polestar actually launched with this gorgeous, sexy coupe called the Polestar 1, but it wasn't all electric. It was actually a plug-in hybrid. Starting with this Polestar 2, every model Polestar makes is going to be electric. So you can definitely tell that this car was spun off from Volvo. We have a lot of similar elements that you would find on a Volvo, including the Thor's hammer headlights. I think this actually started off development as a Volvo. I imagine they would have called it something like S40. They would have maybe positioned it under the S60, but at some point they decided they wanted it to be a Polestar, and then they changed it up. But you can definitely still see and feel the Volvo roots here. This is actually the same exact drivetrain that you can get in the Volvo XC40 and C40 recharges. So you can tell the Volvo connection is pretty strong here. The grille is different from what we'll find on a normal Volvo. Polestar's badging is very subtle. We just have this little star logo here, and then there's another one at the back. The paint color is optional. I think it's like $1,200. It looks good, but not for $1,200. In fact, I think Polestar's entire paint schemes are a little bit boring. I'd like to see them offer a red, or just even like a ruby red, just something more interesting than what they offer. It's actually kind of boring. We've got these 19-inch wheels. You can get larger wheels as part of a performance package that also gets you these cool gold brake calipers from Brembo. Öhlins dampers, I'll talk a little bit more about that later as I'm driving, but I think these wheels look just fine. The only other badging that says it's a Polestar is down here. So you get a little badge that says Polestar 2, battery electric vehicle, and then 78 kilowatt hours is how big the battery is, and then 300 kilowatts is the amount of power. There are two different power versions of this car, a single motor and a dual motor. We're driving the dual motor. Again, I'll talk a little bit more about that when we get it out on the road. This car has a very unique side profile. Because it has a black A pillar here, and then the C pillar kind of wraps around. It's a very unique look, and you can probably spot that this car is raised a little bit. It actually has about 5.7 inches of ground clearance, so it's not quite an SUV, but it's actually a little bit taller in terms of ground clearance than something like a Mustang Mach-E. So it's not an SUV, it's a sedan, but it kind of rides high like a sedan. Just something to think about. It is pretty interesting, and I'll talk about that more on the road. Design-wise, I think these mirrors are my favorite part. It's a weird thing to focus on, but just look at this. They are pillarless, so there's no like black rim around the edge there. And not only do they look pretty, but they function in a really special way. The whole mirror moves when you adjust it. I'll show you that a little bit later on. So Polestar calls this a four-door fastback. So it is similar to something like an Audi A5 Sportback or a BMW 4 Series Grand Coupe in that it has a hatchback, so I'll show you that. I think that Polestar's rear lighting signature is quite interesting. It's kind of like a square. It only goes up to that point, but it is quite nice. There's our Polestar logo down there. So the trunk release is all the way down here by the license plate. revealing this rather large cargo hold. This is definitely larger than the rear trunk of a Tesla Model 3, although we'll see it does have a frunk in the front, but it is not very large. We do have this little strap. You can go ahead and strap something in there. You have a cargo net here, and we do have some under the floor storage as well where you can put your charging cable. So we do have a power trunk. This is pretty much a base model that I'm driving, except for the dual motor package and the color. Other than that, we don't have any other optional packages. So I'll talk to you a little bit more about what that means in terms of pricing. But first, because I showed you the trunk, we'll finish off by showing you the storage up front. So you pop that, it's gonna give you a warning not to drive the car. After you do that, because it's a frunk and you don't want it to fly up accidentally, there is a release that you have to pull. And then there we go. You see it opens real big like a normal hood would. And that's it. That's the limited storage that we have. It's not much. You're really not going to fit a lot in there. Not a suitcase or anything like that. Not even a backpack, to be honest. You can take this little piece out. There's your fix-a-flat, and there is your tire jack in case you need that. You can also fill up the washer fluid here as well. Now, I've noticed you have to be very firm to shut this because I've gone ahead and shut it, and it doesn't quite line up, so you just have to give it another click there. See, this side is a little bit easier. I don't know why that side is so tough. So that's your storage underneath the front. Back seat is not great, I will say. It's a little small back here. This is not the longest wheelbase vehicle. You can see, you can get our first look at the cloth seats. So everything in this interior is completely vegan. There is no animal material in here. So this is the base cloth. There is like an upgraded cloth above this. And if you really want, you can get Napa leather as well, but it is quite expensive. We'll check that out later. We do have our little armrest back here. And because this is a fastback, when I go ahead and lower the seats, you can see there is like no gap between the trunk and the back seat. So you can get a little bit of tall items back here. I'm gonna go ahead and sit back here. I have a decent amount of leg room here, but you'll notice they cheaped out in some areas. Like there's no net here. You can actually get one, but this base car that we have doesn't have it. That feels a little bit cheap to me, but at least we do have air vents, and I have my USB down here, 2 of them. Every USB port in this car is a USB-C, interestingly enough. So yeah, you have this kind of interesting, almost like a dive suit material here. It looks not that great. There's just a lot of gray. I wish they would have added more color to it. There are some premium touches, like these speakers. This is the base speaker system, not the Harman Kardon that's available, but it has this nice felt over it. So some elements of this car look really nice, and I think other elements just look a little bit cheap. But yeah, let me know in the comments. That's a good look at the door card. Let me know if you think that looks premium or you think that looks cheap. Same with the seats too. Would you buy a luxury car that only has cloth seats? That is definitely something that I want to know. Here's a good look at the cloth seat. I'll give you a zoomed out look. I love cloth seats. I'm just not sure that this is looking as premium as I kind of want it to. I think the plaid seats in a Golf GTI are a little bit nicer. And speaking of the seats, they have a little bit of bolstering here, not too much though. They are slightly powered, so you do have your lumbar here, and then the base is power adjustable, but the back is not. You can see that little twist crank knob back there. That's how you adjust the backrest. I find that kind of odd in a car that's kind of luxury vehicle oriented. Here's a good look at the front door card, similar to the one in the rear. You can see that this material just gets like these white streaks on it. Like, I don't know, like you can wipe it, but it kind of just holds that in there. I do really like the speaker grills though, and I will say the stereo, even though this isn't a Harman Kardon, it sounds fantastic. So I'd be really curious to see how good the Harman Kardon is. And we do have a pretty nicely deep pocket in here, and we do have driver memory, 2 positions of it. But like I said, it doesn't do the backrest. So that's a little bit weird. Okay, so let's get in it and start it up, which involves doing nothing. It's already started. Just like a Tesla, there is no key in this car. So as soon as you put your butt in that seat, it will be, quote, on, and there's nothing else to do. The steering wheel actually won't move though until I put it into drive. So let me just go ahead and do that so I can straighten it out. Now it is fully on completely. So we have a very similar steering wheel to what you'd find in a Volvo, of course, though it has a Polestar badge here. The gauges are quite simple, but they work very, very well. So we have our Google map right here. Very good for navigating, and all of the other functions are smaller. And if I just push one button on the steering wheel, now it pulls up my full information, charge, power, information, my gear, and then I can just push it back and I can go back to the Google map. Now, the map is Google because the whole system is Google. So this is the first car in North America to get the Google operating system. I think it's called Android Automotive. Different than Android Auto. Android Auto is to project your phone. This is a fully Android-based OS for a car, and it works very, very well. You have these 4 quadrants right here, so you can pull up your map. You log into your Google account to do different things. So this map is exactly what you would find on Google Maps or on the Google app on your phone, which is very cool. I can use it to, you can navigate to the Electrify America charging station. So when you do that, you're going to get a thing that tells you how many chargers are available and what speed they are, and it'll even tell you what battery percentage you will be at when you arrive. That is a really cool function. You have all of your climate controls down here. You can pull those up so you can change the temperature, you can change the fan speed. It's similar to how it would function on a Volvo, but I think this system is much quicker. And because it's Google powered, we also have an app store. So you can see right there, we have the Google Play Store, just like you would find on your phone. And there are some really neat things that you can do on here. Right now, most of the apps that are available are like streaming services, so like YouTube Music, things like that. But I found this really interesting one called Car Sounds 2021 because Polestar actually opens this up to outside developers. So if you know how to develop an app, you can actually make your own for this car. So this is a bunch of car sounds. It's kind of silly, but check this out. So I'm gonna play GT40 taking off. So, you know, if you're not enamored with driving an electric car that doesn't make any noise, you can have a Ford GT40 noise. So that's pretty cool as well. We can come over here to this little menu. This is all of the different drive settings here. So you can change your steering, standard, light, or very firm. It actually does get really firm. There is a sport mode that turns off the traction control, although I don't really know that it does anything. I can't really feel a difference there. And then there is the one pedal drive. You can have this coast when you take your foot off the gas, or it can regen really heavy. And then when you're at a stop, you can have it creep forward, or you can have it just sit there. I'll talk a little bit more about that when we get it out on the road as well. What else did I want to show you on this car? Oh, I know what other app I wanted to show you. So right if here we come to the Vivaldi browser, you can actually get a full web browser on this car. So that is really unique because obviously charging takes a little bit longer than filling up a gas tank. So you might want something to do. So this has a full web browser. So let's go ahead and look at the Polestar 2 pricing configurator, which I've pulled up. So you can see this vehicle starts at $45,900. Let me see, make sure that's in focus there. So $45,900 for the base single motor version of the car. We've added the dual motor, which is going to cost $4,000, and I'll talk to you a little bit more about that as we're driving. I think it is worth it. And then you can you can look at the specification, and then basically there are different packages that you can get here. So there is the pilot package. That's things like adaptive cruise control, lane keep assist, stuff like that. That's $3,200. I'm kind of surprised that Polestar, a subsidiary of Volvo, doesn't include a lot of that. Like our base car doesn't even have blind spot monitoring, which is a little bit odd. You've got this Plus package, that's $4,000. So that's going to get you a heat pump. That's good if you're driving this car in the winter. You get a panoramic glass roof. So this whole roof would be glass. It's just fixed on this one. You get that Harman Kardon premium audio that I mentioned. You get a little bit nicer cloth than we have. You get full power seats, unlike these kind of half power ones. You get heated rear seats, heated washers as well. You get nicer interior lights. You get a wireless charger right here, which we do not have on this car. And you get a grocery bag holder in the trunk. It is just kind of random. I really wish that some of that stuff was a little more a la carte instead of in a $4,000 package, because that is quite a lot. And then there's the performance package that I mentioned. You get Öhlins dampers, shock absorbers. You get gold Brembo brakes that look like that. I actually love that wheel. It looks fantastic. That's the 20-inch Y spokes. Performance tires, gold seat belts, which are really cool. And then you get a gloss black roof, which is really cool as well. So it is possible to option this car up to almost $70,000, which is quite a lot of money, to be honest. We also don't have a 360 camera. We just have a basic backup camera. We have our shifter here with the little light up Polestar logo. We do have some physical controls for our volume, play, pause. Oops, sorry, I activated the Ford GT. We've got our USB-Cs right here. There is no back and forward on this. I kind of wish there was. There is storage here, and then there is a little bit more storage here. I have my sunglass holder there. The storage is a little bit limited on this car. You can see I have my cup holder right here. And there is another one. You just have to move this armrest, and then there it is there. And you can actually remove this, and this can just be storage if you want. But I don't love the storage in here. And some of the materials I mentioned, like this looks and feels very nice to me. I like how this is kind of textured here on the dash. This feels a little bit cheap to me though. The door cards are kind of a mix. So yeah, again, I'm not a huge fan of this interior. I mean, look how big this center console is. The thing that I love about electric cars is that because they don't need a transmission, they can free this up for like a lot of storage. And you can kind of tell that this car didn't really have that. It does have a battery in the floor, but it also has kind of like a battery where the transmission would be in sort of like a T shape, which is why this is so big. And there are some other weird oddities that happen with that too. So you might be able to tell the floor is actually like curved down. It's a very odd thing. And I didn't notice it right away, but I did notice it the first time I was driving. The floor is like tilted down and up. I've never seen that before. That's because the battery is like flat up to this point, and then it kind of ends right there. So they were able to carve out more space. It is just a little bit weird. And then I said I was going to talk to you a little bit about the mirror as well. So let me go ahead and turn the left one on. So let me roll down the window. I don't think it'll make a huge difference, but as I move it around, you'll see the entire mirror moves. That's not just the glass that's moving. That's the entire mirror. I think that is really cool. So the interior in here is quite nice. I think the price is not that bad. With a $7,500 federal tax credit, it is less expensive than equivalent Model 3 Tesla. The Model 3 starts at $48,000, so $3,000 more and no credit. It actually doesn't go as far as the base Polestar. The 0 to 60 is quicker though at 5.8 seconds. And if you want the long range, which is a dual motor Tesla Model 3, that's 56,000. So that's like 6,000 more than this car. It goes a lot further, 334 miles on a charge, 0 to 60 in 4.2 seconds. So again, the Tesla is quicker and it will go farther, but this Polestar is actually cheaper. So I mentioned the base Polestar 2 will go 270 miles on a charge. This dual motor will go 249 miles, but let's talk about how quickly they can charge. So they both have 78 kilowatt hour battery packs. And if you're on a level 2 charger, like the one I've just plugged into, it'll go from 0 to full in about 8 hours. So if you have one of these installed at your house, that'll be great. You'll get home from work, plug in, and you'll wake up with a full battery. Perfect. If you only have a 110 volt outlet, like a normal wall socket, that's going to take much longer, about 22 hours, honestly. So unless you're not driving every day, that solution's probably not going to work out. You're probably going to want to buy a home charger. Now, if you buy or lease a Polestar 2, you will get 2 years of complimentary charging sessions, 30 minutes long, at Electrify America. So be sure to check out where the nearest EA station is to you. And on a DC fast charger, this can charge at up to 155 kilowatts, meaning you'll go from about 10% to 80% in under 40 minutes. I tested it out today. It was pretty quick, but it was not cheap. I went from like 60 to like 90 and it cost me like 10 bucks. So not super duper cheap. It is cheaper to charge at home slowly, but they say that 80% of charging is done at the home, not in public. I just personally do not have a charger at my apartment, so I rely on public charging like this. All right, time to wrap up by driving the Polestar 2, specifically the dual motor version. That's the one that Polestar sent me. There are 2 different ways to buy this car. If you're not really interested in crazy acceleration times, you can get the front motor, single motor version of this car. Produces 231 horsepower, good for a 7-second 0 to 60 time. That is front wheel drive because the motor is at the front. Or you can get this dual motor version that I have. So you get a motor at the front, a motor at the back, producing 408 horsepower and I think like 470 pound-feet of torque. So that's gonna bump the 0 to 60 time down by quite a bit. 7 seconds in the front-wheel drive car, and I'm about to do it in the all-wheel drive car. Oh boy, that gets off the line quick. Woo, that is 0 to 60 in just 4.5 seconds. Whew. And I think that number kind of does a disservice to just really how quick this car is. Like 4.5 seconds is quick, but you know, some Teslas will do it in like 3 seconds, but oh my God, you just put your foot on the throttle in this car, whoa, and it really jumps. Like you can just zoom past traffic in this car. I love the acceleration and how easy and quick it is. There's no noise, so you floor it and there's nothing, although you do have that crazy in-car sound thing that I showed you. But yeah, it's really, really quick and it drives really well too. I think that they have differentiated this enough from a Volvo product in my mind. You can change around all of the settings with the steering feel. I kind of like it in the firm mode. It doesn't change the ratio at all, but it gets really, really heavy in the firm mode, but like not like crazy much so. I think that there's a little bit more accuracy here than in a lot of other Volvo cars, which feel a little bit more disconnected to me. The suspension tuning is pretty good. It's a little firm, but not uncomfortably so. You can get that crazy sport package that's gonna get you Öhlins dampers, like the kind you have to like literally turn a knob to adjust. I don't know why you would necessarily want those on an electric car like this, but hey, Polestar offers it. It's like a $5,000 package. We don't have it. I think the ride is pretty good without it. We have our regen braking that you can change. I showed you all the different settings on that. So I've been driving it on one pedal drive standard with the creep off. So when I took my foot off the throttle, it's going to come all the way down to a stop. So you can one pedal drive, or if you don't like that, you can turn it off completely and it'll coast. This is the best way to get the range. As I mentioned before, 249 miles on this dual motor. You'll get up to 270 if you only get that front motor. I personally think that for $4,000, which is what it costs to upgrade to the dual motor, I think you're better off getting the dual motor. You're getting all-wheel drive, you're getting way more power, way quicker acceleration. It is well worth the jump. And yeah, I really enjoy driving the Polestar 2. I think I do enjoy it, driving it more than a Tesla, maybe even a little more than something like a Mustang Mach-E or a Kia EV6 or a Hyundai Ioniq 5, but those are less expensive. And I haven't driven the Ford Mustang Mach-E GT just yet, so I'd really like to give that a shot. But yeah, there's really nothing else quite like the Polestar 2. It's a sedan, but not really because it's a fastback. It's not an SUV, but not really because it does kind of ride high. I don't really notice the higher ride height out here on the road, but it is just interesting. Maybe makes it a little bit easier to get in and out of. You know, maybe you were considering an SUV. I think that this would be right in there in the conversation for me. And especially with the price starting at about $45,000, $49,000 if you want this dual motor version, plus you get that $7,500 federal tax credit. I think the Polestar 2 is a really, really neat option. Not a perfect option, but a really good one. We really hope you've enjoyed this review of the 2022 Polestar 2. If you want to know what it's like to live with an electric car like the Polestar 2, be sure to click on our other video that we filmed with this car. It's full fun. We try and charge it publicly. We explain all of the different terms, kilowatts, kilowatt hours. It's a real learning experience. We really hope you enjoy that. Please leave a like, subscribe to our channel, and ring the notification bell to be alerted of our latest videos. I'll see you next time.